Normandy is a geographical region of France corresponding to the former Duchy of Normandy. Since 1956, Normandy has been divided into two administrative regions, Lower Normandy and Upper Normandy. The regions will be merged into one single region effective the 1st of January 2016. The continental territory covers 30,627 square kilometers and forms the preponderant part of Normandy and roughly 5% of the territory of France. The population of Normandy is around 3.45 million. The continental population of 3.26 million accounts for 5.5% of the population of France. The Channel Islands are historically part of Normandy, cover 194 square kilometers and comprise two bailiwicks, Guernsey and Jersey, which are British Crown dependencies. Upper Normandy consists of the French departments of Seine-Maritime and Eure, and Lower Normandy of the departments of Orne, Calvados, and Manche. The earlier province of Normandy comprised present-day Upper and Lower Normandy, as well as small areas now part of the départements of Mayenne and Sarthe. The name is derived from the settlement of the territory by mainly Norwegian and Danish Vikings from the 9th century, and confirmed by treaty in the 10th century between King Charles III of France and Earl Rollo of Moore, Norway. For a century and a half following the Norman conquest of England in 1066, Normandy and England were linked by Norman and Frankish rulers. During World War II, the D-Day landings on the Normandy beaches, under the codename Operation Overlord, started the lengthy Battle of Normandy and resulted in the liberation of Paris and the restoration of the French Republic. These landings were a significant turning point in the war. Lower Normandy is predominantly agricultural in character, with cattle breeding the most important sector. The bocage is a patchwork of small fields with high hedges, typical of western areas. Upper Normandy contains a higher concentration of industry. Normandy is a significant cider-producing region, and also produces Calvados, a distilled cider or apple brandy. Other activities of economic importance are dairy produce, flax, horse breeding, fishing, seafood, and tourism. The region contains 3 French nuclear power stations. There is also easy access to and from the UK using the ports of Cherbourg, Caen, Le Havre and Dieppe. History. Archaeological finds, such as cave paintings, prove that humans were present in the region in prehistoric times. Belgian Celts, known as Gauls, invaded Normandy in successive waves from the 4th to the 3rd century BC. When Julius Caesar invaded Gaul, there were 9 different Gallic tribes in Normandy. The Romanization of Normandy was achieved by the usual methods: Roman roads and a policy of urbanization. Classicists have knowledge of many Gallo-Roman villas in Normandy. In the late 3rd century, barbarian raids devastated Normandy. Coastal settlements were raided by Saxon pirates. Christianity also began to enter the area during this period. In 406, Germanic tribes began invading from the east, while the Saxons subjugated the Norman coast. The Roman emperor withdrew from most of Normandy. As early as 487, the area between the River Somme and the River Loire came under the control of the Frankish lord Clovis. The Vikings started to raid the Seine Valley during the middle of the 9th century. After attacking and destroying monasteries, including one at Jumièges, they took advantage of the power vacuum created by the disintegration of Charlemagne's empire to take northern France. The fiefdom of Normandy was created for the Norwegian Viking leader Hrolf Ranvaldsson, or Rollo. In exchange for his homage and fealty, Rollo legally gained the territory which he and his Viking allies had previously conquered. The name Normandy reflects Rollo's Viking origins. The descendants of Rollo and his followers adopted the local Gallo-Romance language and intermarried with the area's original inhabitants. Rollo's descendant William, Duke of Normandy, became King of England in 1066 in the Norman conquest, culminating at the Battle of Hastings, while retaining the fiefdom of Normandy for himself and his descendants. Norman expansion. Besides the Norman conquest of England and the subsequent conquests of Wales and Ireland, the Normans expanded into other areas. Norman families, such as that of Tancred of Hauteville, Rainulf Drengot and Guillaume de Moulins, played important parts in the Norman conquest of southern Italy and Crusades. Drengot lineage and Tancred's sons William Ironarm, Drogo of Hauteville, Humphrey of Hauteville, Robert Guiscard and Roger the Great Count progressively conquered territories in southern Italy until founding the Kingdom of Sicily in 1130. They also carved out a place for themselves and their descendants in the Crusader states of Asia Minor and the Holy Land. The 14th-century Norman explorer Jean de Bethencourt established a kingdom in the Canary Islands. Bethencourt received the title King of the Canary Islands but recognized as his overlord Henry III of Castile, who had provided aid during the conquest. 13th to 17th centuries. In 1204, during the reign of England's King John, mainland Normandy was taken from England by France under Philip II of France. Insular Normandy remained under English control. In 1259, Henry III of England recognized the legality of French possession of mainland Normandy under the Treaty of Paris. His successors, however, often fought to regain control of mainland French Normandy. The Charter aux Normands granted by Louis X of France in 1315, like the analogous Magna Carta granted in England in the aftermath of 1204, guaranteed the liberties and privileges of the province of Normandy. French Normandy was occupied by English forces during the Hundred Years' War in 1345 to 1360 and again in 1415 to 1450. Normandy lost three-quarters of its population during the war. Afterward, prosperity returned to Normandy until the Wars of Religion, when many Norman towns joined the Protestant Reformation. Battles ensued throughout the province. In the Channel Islands, a period of Calvinism following the Reformation was suppressed when Anglicanism was imposed following the English Civil War. Samuel de Champlain left the port of Honfleur in 1604 and founded Acadia. 4 years later, he founded Quebec City. From then onwards, Normans engaged in a policy of expansion in North America. They continued the exploration of the New World. René Robert Cavelier de La Salle traveled in the area of the Great Lakes, then on the Mississippi River. Pierre Lemoyne d'Iberville and his brother Lemoyne de Bienville founded Louisiana, Biloxi, Mobile and New Orleans. Territories located between Quebec and the Mississippi Delta were opened up to establish Canada and Louisiana. Colonists from Normandy were among the most active in New France, comprising Acadia, Canada, and Louisiana. Honfleur and Le Havre were two of the principal slave trade ports of France. Modern history. Although agriculture remained important, industries such as weaving, metallurgy, sugar refining, ceramics, and shipbuilding were introduced and developed. In the 1780s, the economic crisis and the crisis of the Ancien Regime struck Normandy as well as other parts of the nation, leading to the French Revolution. Bad harvests, technical progress and the effects of the Eden Agreement signed in 1786 affected employment and the economy of the province. Normans labored under a heavy fiscal burden. In 1790, the 5 departments of Normandy replaced the former province. The 11th of July 1793, the Norman Charlotte Corday assassinated Marat. The Normans reacted little to the many political upheavals which characterized the 19th century. Overall, they warily accepted the changes of regime. There was an economic revival after the French Revolutionary Wars and the Napoleonic Wars, and new economic activity stimulated the coasts. Seaside tourism. The 19th century marks the birth of the first beach resorts. During the Second World War, following the armistice of the 22nd of June 1940, continental Normandy was part of the German-occupied zone of France. The Channel Islands were occupied by German forces between the 30th of June 1940 and the 9th of May 1945. The town of Dieppe was the site of the unsuccessful Dieppe raid by Canadian and British armed forces. The Allies, in this case involving Britain, the US, and Canada, coordinated a massive build-up of troops and supplies to support a large-scale invasion of Normandy in the D-Day landings on 6 June 1944. Under the codename Operation Overlord, the Germans were dug into fortified emplacements above the beaches. Caen, Cherbourg, Carentan, Falaise and other Norman towns endured many casualties in the Battle of Normandy, which continued until the closing of the so-called Falaise Gap between Chambois and Montormel. The liberation of Le Havre followed. This was a significant turning point in the war and led to the restoration of the French Republic. The remainder of Normandy was liberated only on 9 May 1945 at the end of the war, when the occupation of the Channel Islands effectively ended. Geography. The historical Duchy of Normandy was a formerly independent duchy occupying the Lower Seine area, the Pays de Caux and the region to the west through the Pays d'Orge as far as the Cotentin Peninsula. Western Normandy belongs to the Armorican Massif, whereas the major part of the region belongs to the Paris Basin. France's oldest rocks crop out in Joburg in the Cotentin Peninsula. The region is bordered along the northern coasts by the English Channel. There are granite cliffs in the west and limestone cliffs in the east. There are also long stretches of beach in the center of the region. The bocage, typical of the western areas, caused problems for the invading forces in the Battle of Normandy. A notable feature of the landscape is created by the meanders of the Seine as it approaches its estuary. The highest point is the Signal des Couvers in the Massif Armoricain. Normandy is sparsely forested. 12.8% of the territory is wooded, compared to a French average of 23.6%, although the proportion varies between the departments. Has most cover while Manche has least, a characteristic shared with the islands. Regions: the Avranchin, the Bessin, the Balptois, the Bocage Verrois, the Campagne de l'Ancon, the Campagne d'Argenet, the Campagne de Caen, the Campagne de Falaise, the Campagne du Neubourg, the Campagne de Saint-André, the Cotentin, the Perche, the Domfront or Pastries, the Hayemois, the Liervine, the Mortonais. The Pays d'Orge, central Normandy, is characterized by excellent agricultural land. The Pays de Bray, the Pays de Caux, the Pays d'Aume, the Pays de Madry, territoire entre la Seine et l'Eure, the Pays d'Ouche, the Roumois et Marais Vernier. The Suisse Normande, in the south, presents hillier terrain. The Val d'Isère, the Vexin Normand, Channel Islands, the Bailliage of Jersey, the Bailliage of Guernsey. The Channel Islands, although British Crown dependencies, are considered culturally and historically a part of Normandy. Although the British surrendered claims to mainland Normandy, France, and other French possessions in 1801, the monarch of the United Kingdom retains the title Duke of Normandy in respect to the Channel Islands. The Channel Islands remain crown dependencies of the British Crown in the present era. Thus, the loyal toast in the Channel Islands is La Reine, Notre Duc. The British monarch is understood to not be the Duke with regards to mainland Normandy described herein, by virtue of the Treaty of Paris of 1259, the surrender of French possessions in 1801, and the belief that the rights of succession to that title are subject to Salic law, which excludes inheritance through female heirs. Rivers in Normandy include the Seine and its tributaries, the Andel, the Ept, the Eure, the Ryle, the Robec, and many coastal rivers. The Bresla, the Coenon, which traditionally marks the boundary between the Duchy of Brittany and the Duchy of Normandy. The Dives, the Orne, the Seqt, the Saloon, the Touquets, the Voiles, the shortest French river, the Vire, Towns Sea, Category: Towns in Normandy. The principal cities are Rouen, the capital of Upper Normandy and formerly of the whole province, Caen, the capital of Lower Normandy, Le Havre, and Cherbourg. Population. In January 2006, the population of Normandy was estimated at 3,260,000 with an average population density of 109 inhabitants per square kilometre, just under the French national average, but rising to 147 for Upper Normandy. Economy. Food and drink. Parts of Normandy consist of rolling countryside typified by pasture for dairy cattle and apple orchards. A wide range of dairy products are produced and exported. Norman cheeses include Camembert, Livarot, Pont-l'Evêque, Brillat-Savarin, Neufchâtel, Petit Suisse and Beausine. Normandy butter and Normandy cream are lavishly used in gastronomic specialties. Fish and seafood are of superior quality in Normandy. Turbot and oysters from the Cotentin Peninsula are major delicacies throughout France. Normandy is the chief oyster cultivating, scallop exporting, and mussel raising region in France. Normandy is a major cider producing region. Perry is also produced but in less significant quantities. Apple brandy, of which the most famous variety is Calvados, is also popular. The mealtime trou normand, or Norman hoe, is a pause between meal courses in which diners partake of a glass full of Calvados in order to improve the appetite and make room for the next course. And this is still observed in many homes and restaurants. Pommeau is an apéritif produced by blending unfermented cider and apple brandy. Another apéritif is the Kir Normand, a measure of crème de cassis topped up with cider. Benedictine is produced in Fécamp. Apples are also widely used in cooking. For example, mules à la Normande are mussels cooked with apples, cream and cheese. Bordelots are apples baked in pastry. Partridges are flamed with Rionette apples, and localities all over the province have their own variation of apple tart that is more popular, named tan 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 tan, because the people can't say the correct name, tarte tatine. A classic pastry dish from the region is Normand tart, a pastry-based variant of the apple tart. Other regional specialities include tripes à la mode de Caen, andouilles and andouillettes, salt meadow lamb, seafood, and chourgoule. Normandy dishes include duckling à la rouennaise, sautéed chicken yvetot, and goose en daube. Rabbit is cooked with morels, or à la havraise. Other dishes are sheep's trotters à la rouennaise, casserole veal, larded calf's liver braised with carrots, and veal in cream and mushrooms. Normandy is also noted for its pastries. It is the birthplace of brioches and also turns out douillons, craquelins, roulettes in Rouen, fouloises in Caen, foulouse in Lisieux, sablés in Lisieux. Confectionery of the region includes Rouen apple sugar, Azini caramels, Bayer mint chews, Falaise berlingots, Le Havre marzipans, Argentan croquettes, and Rouen macaroons. Normandy is the native land of Taillevent, cook of the kings of France Charles V and Charles VI. He wrote the earliest French cookery book named La Vie à Dire. Confiture de lait was also made in Normandy around the 14th century.